Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Let's Play CastleVania Aria of Sorrow. I'm MisterTanooki, and on this episode, we are going to be moving through the chapel, because if you remember, at the end of last episode, we reached the chapel and advanced the story. We found out about some stuff to do with the church and vampires and all sorts. Here we have the introduction of a rock enemy. You didn't get a rock armor. You didn't get to see them because I completely destroyed them, but essentially how they'll work is they're similar to the axe armor, as in, they'll throw something and you just hit it. So if you remember with the axe armor, when you whacked the axe with the sword, it just destroyed. Same with the rock. So the best thing to do is just to jump and then hit the rock, and you'll avoid damage, as long as you don't run into him, that is. So here we go, the Une buries landmines throughout its turf. I'm going to show that, even though I know for a fact it's not very useful. So the unique thing with the Une is it actually, like, respawns itself. It's kind of like, I'm not sure if this is true, I'm not sure if this is a scientific fact, but I know that there's a thing about how worms can, like, if you chop them in half, they can still move. And kind of like, you know, the chicken's moving without a head kind of thing. It's kind of like that. Basically, the Une respawns itself. It will reproduce. It will make loads of spores. So it'll... you don't really have an opportunity to see it in this area just because of the way it's set out. Also, you can destroy the skeleton bones. Now, I've come to the realization I'm not actually very happy with the amount of progress we've been making per episode. You can see I'm a bit rusty, even though I haven't played in like a couple days. But I wasn't I've literally just got home from work. This is the situation I'm in. I've just got home from work, and I thought, you know what? I haven't recorded Aria of Sorrow in a while. I'm going to record some Aria of Sorrow, because I spent last night rearranging my desk space. So maybe the sound might sound a slight bit different. That's the reason. I want to see quickly if we... You know what? I think it might actually be worth going back to the shrine, because I did make a few mistakes. I always find that when I'm introducing the episode, I tend to make loads of mistakes, because I'm focusing more on what I'm going to say, rather than what I should be doing. I guess that's a kind of a hard thing about commentating CastleVania games. I guess that's why I was a little bit skeptic of doing it. Now, something you may have noticed from previous episodes is I have actually grinded off camera. I haven't for this episode, but in previous episodes I have grinded off camera. Now, I chose not to in this part because I wanted to show you, you know, how I handled this, because we're going into a boss, and I wanted to show you guys basically how I handled it when I first got the game. So here is our first boss, the Manticore. This one has two main attacks. It's kind of like the, I can't figure the name of it. I think it's called a Thwomping Bone or something. But you remember the first boss we fought, that giant skull with the giant, like, Q-bone type thing? Yeah, so it's like that. He has two main attacks. He's got his crush with the tail, and he's got a fire, flame, breath attack. He's honestly quite an easy enemy. I'm pretty sure, nope. So different thing between him and the skull enemy is you cannot actually duck to avoid his attacks, which kind of sucks. I want to see if we've got something a bit more powerful that we could use. Okay, that's 20. How much is that? That's 14. Zombie soldier. You know what? I'm actually going to switch to the zombie soldier, because he's actually, like, really slow moving. So I think it's going to damage him a lot more, and in general just benefits us more than if we were to just continually throw spears at him. Because the one concern I have is that the grenades aren't actually going to hit them, because I said this last episode briefly. You know, the way the grenades work is they're timed, so you have to kind of know whereabouts they're going to go for. Now, there is a thing you can do here, where if you just wait for your magic to respawn, he can't do anything to you when you stand on this point. So you can just throw grenades at him and just destroy him, which is the thing I did when I first did it. Now, I am a level 6 at the moment. I would recommend you being at least level 8 if you know you're going to get hit. Personally, I didn't know I was going to get hit a lot, because I'm usually pretty good at this fight. I like to think I'm pretty good at most of the boss fights. I'm actually going to use an item. Do we have 100 HP? Oh, there we go. That's not that many, actually. That's like one more grenade. But I think one more grenade should do it. One well-timed grenade. That should be it. There we go. And if we get our little orb here. Now, there is something we can get if we come back here. It is a very good soul. It basically involves, like, luck, which we need a lot to collect the souls. Now, I have said before, I'm not doing a 100% soul run, but I do strongly believe that we should try and get as many souls as we can, because a lot of them are very useful, and there's a set combination that I definitely want to get. Now here we go, the Flea Man. I don't really understand what they're supposed to be. I believe they were actually in the... I remember them being in the original CastleVania. I can't remember what level it was. I think it was the 3rd. But do you guys, if you've played the game, do you remember the... I know for a fact you can actually get over there from this side, and I really want to try it. So those of you that have played the game, do you remember the level that took place on the castle roof? That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Wait, no, I don't want to go through the door. I actually want to destroy him just to get ourselves some cheeky XP just quickly. I don't think he can actually hit us. So with this guy, you just got to duck. He can actually be a hard enemy for if you're a low level like I am, but he's pretty easy. We've actually got like a little bit of XP to go. You know, we're making good progress. We'll probably be at level 10 by the end of this episode, but this is where I wanted to go, to the study, because as I said, ideally I'd want to be doing like at least one area per episode, and we haven't been doing that. We've been doing like half an area per episode because it took us 2 episodes just to get to the to the chapel. Also, those of you that are, like know about the game will recognize that I actually missed something at the chapel. You know that big block at the top? I'm actually going to be going back to that because we need to head through the chapel on our way out anyway. The Student Witch, by the way, if I remember correctly, actually has one of my favourite souls. It basically involves a cat, and the reason I like it is because it swoops through like the whole... I'm actually going to switch back. You know what? I'm going to switch back to the winged skeleton. It swoops through the whole thing like you saw just there. And the cat, I think that's her main attack actually, apart from the balloon. The broom. So yeah, I would ideally like to be making more progress. But here we go. The Bastard Sword. It's got a good amount of attack on it. It's got +8 attack than we already have. But the only problem with it is... Oh, never mind. Sorry, I'm thinking of another one. I'll explain that as we get into it. So anyway, let's go head back. Now, it's a good thing we went across there because that's not required. But we will have to come back here at some point because there's something we can get over here. Although it's not required, it can be quite helpful. And also it's good just to get it marked off the map. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that anyway. I haven't spoke about these. These are Durgas. They're not very good. We actually get introduced to like different types of enemies. So a lot of the thing you'll notice about this game is they do recycle some enemies. So you'll have enemies that are basically the exact same, but they just have a different colour palette, which I'm personally not a fan of. It's basically like, you know, Smash Brothers, if you think of it like that, I suppose. So they all act the same, some of them, but they've just got different colours. And there we go, we've got the Uncurse Potion, which basically uncurses you, which is good, because we are going to encounter some curses. With a lot of the enemies in this area, I find the best thing to do is either to duck when they're attacking, or just to run and hit like I did there. With these evil butchers, the best thing to do is to duck like I'm doing, as you can see. And I think, I could be wrong, I think they've got about 120 attack. These guys, Bone Pillars, they were also in the original CastleVania. Those of you that are veterans of the series will definitely recognise them. They're one of the most common enemies in the game, I like to think. They basically stack on top of each other, and they will release either fireballs or kind of like a flamethrower type attack. There's nothing we could do here at the moment, but I do believe if we go through here, we're actually going to encounter a boss. Actually, no, I'm sorry, it's the next little room after this. There we go, Flea Man. So we've got Hops Around Madly. Let's have a little look how that looks over here. Where is it, Flea Man? Oh, it's right there, okay. Okay, so for 15, that's not actually that good. What's it like for damage? Actually, that does really decent damage. That does really decent damage. Here we go. These are the arachnids, or the arachnes. They're basically like spiders, and they just unleash their cobweb-like type bullet attack on you. Switch back to the winged skeleton again. Now, it's a good thing we got the curse potion, because these guys, the ectoplasm, are actually bad. As soon as they hit you, you will lose you'll basically get cursed. And what cursing does in this game, you'll see at some... Come on! You'll see at some point, because I can almost guarantee that I will get hit by one at some point during the playthrough. But basically, what cursing does is, aside from damaging you, what it does is it will take your mana or your magic points away I think it's per second that you're cursed. So basically, you won't be able to use your magic points for that while. So they can be quite problematic because there's a lot of them in this area, as you can see. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Okay, rock armor. This guy can actually probably cause you quite a bit of trouble. But the whole oh, hammer. Here we go. This is an item that we're going to get later. This will give me an opportunity to talk about something I was going to mention. You may remember for a couple minutes ago when I got the bastard sword, I was a bit like stuck of what I was going to say. That's because I thought it was going to be another sword. You've got two types of swords in this game. You've got the ones that are straight and do the stabbing motion, and you've got the special ones that do this, like an arching motion, which I personally prefer. Now, the hammer's not that good of a weapon, but it's the strongest one we can get for now. There is a weapon we will encounter in a second, which I'm actually going to be using for most of the portion of this game, at least up until the next area boss. And there we go with the curse. You can see our green bar starts to go down. I believe also if you could just go away, please. The good thing about the hammer though is you can just you don't have to get directly in front of them. You can just whack them like that. I think this is a secret area over here. No, it's not. There is a secret area hidden in some of these places though. Am I still cursed? I don't think I am still cursed. And basically the status thing on that screen will show you when you're cursed and when you're losing health and stuff like that. So it's kind of useful to know what ailments you have. It's kind of I like to think of it kind of like the disease screen. That's not his actual name, but the disease screen in Skyrim. If you check your status and stuff, it showed you if you had any diseases, if you were a werewolf, if you were a vampire, stuff like that. Anyway, so we're going to move through here, and basically what I think I'm going to do this episode is I'm going to go to the area boss of this, I guess you could call this area 1. But basically, this is the first struggle we're going to have with a boss. Although I won't struggle because I know basically how to do it without taking damage. But it's the only boss that we're going to encounter for a while that's actually going to put up somewhat of a challenge if you don't know exactly what you're doing. I guess that's kind of the same for all bosses. You know, you kind of have to know what you're doing in this game and what you're getting yourself into. And I really want the student witch soul before we actually fight the boss, because it's actually a really useful soul. There are books. We cannot get under there yet, but we will get onto them later. They basically tell us mysteries and stuff and all sorts of secrets and how we can do things. I always find that cutscene kind of funny because it's how could you not realise that the power to absorb souls is not dark? Did you actually think that was good? I mean, I guess they're monster souls in Dracula's castle, so I guess you could think it's kind of you know, there's this argument that you can't be truly evil if you believe what you're saying, what you're doing is good. And if you put it like this, his powers are dark, they are evil. But what he's doing is he's using them on evil creatures. So he believes that's the right thing to do. So is he truly evil? I personally don't think so. Does this break? And does this break over here? This must break. No, it doesn't. I'm not a fan of the hammer. I hope we get a lighter weapon soon, which I know we do, which also has an arching motion. But I personally prefer the arching motions. Actually, no, that's the boss door over there. I did say that I'm actually going to be going to get the boss, and then I'll be going to the next save point after we collect everything in this area, because the boss is actually kind of interesting, and I know how to do it. So you may have just noticed that. This door, you cannot get in, but as soon as you turn around, he does that. Well, how do we do this? Well, obviously, you have to walk backwards. It's one of those things where it's not something you can easily figure out, but once you figure it out, you kind of think to yourself, oh, you know, how did I not know that? But something I like about this area is it's actually got our weapon that we're going to be using for the boss fight. Personally, in my opinion, the most useful weapon in the game. Definitely my favourite. It's not the most powerful, but it's definitely my favourite. There's a student witch here. Okay. And if we go down here we go. It is the whip sword. So essentially, guys, if you are a veteran of CastleVania, you'll recognise the whip sword. By the way, it needs to be mentioned, we're actually playing as Sora. We're not playing as anyone from the Belmont clan. So that should be mentioned. So he has not encountered the whip sword ever. Now, you see it's got really long range. It's not that powerful, and I'd say it's decently fast, actually. I wouldn't say it's any slower than any other weapon, but it's good. I like this as a weapon. I personally think it's really good. Now, we're going to be going straight into the boss. Some people might be thinking, Daniel, that's kind of foolish. You've got, like, literally no health. Well, I've got 141 health. But you might think it's a bit foolish. Well, thank goodness for you, I know exactly what we're doing. Now, do you guys remember what I said about enemies that are bosses coming back later in the game as normal enemies? This is an example of that, because the bone creature, the great armor which we're fighting now, and I can't think of the name of it, the creature we fought literally at the start of the episode, they come back as normal enemies in towards the end of the game as you start to go towards Dracula's tower. So now what you want to do with this guy is, you can see he's got two main attacks. All of his attacks involve stabbing. You want to avoid him hitting you. When he raises his thing like that, it means he's going to go straight down. If he pulls it backwards, he's going to go in for a stab, as you've seen before. But he's a pretty easy enemy, and we have defeated him. So there we go, and we heal. And I believe if we go through here, we unlock a new power. I don't get it either, Soma. Here we go, jump again in mid-jump. This is another permanent ability, and it's actually very, very helpful for a lot of the parts of the game. Now, you remember I said there were some parts of this level that we can't get to, and if you look on the map, you'll see a lot of grey. Well, that is because we are going to be heading back, and I want to go and collect a couple of weapons. So the first one I want to go and get to is one that we have actually encountered before. You know what? I think I'm just going to meet you there. Okay, so those of you that have been watching the whole thing and you didn't just skip ahead, you will remember me going into this area with the box. Now, we need the box for two things. First thing, actually I want to get whatever's in here. It's just a heart. Not very helpful, but, you know, it's still good to get it anyway. If we jump up here and then jump up again, we get to a new area. So this has the heart pendant, which I mentioned earlier, which gives us +1 luck. Now, it's worth mentioning, are we going to risk +1 luck for -1 defense? At this point in time, I'm going to go for it because we actually don't have any enemies coming up, not bosses, but there's definitely not going to be any enemies that I struggle with. And I saw stairs. Why is there stairs if it leads to nothing? That is very, very kind of stupid. Okie dokie. So if we bring the box over, now this is the annoying thing about pushing the box. is... by the way, I love Sora's animation. It's just like he's just normally walking. It doesn't look like he's pushing it at all. I don't like the fact you have to push the box in 2 locations, and when you push it, it doesn't. It just respawns at the top. But here we go. The sword I was mentioning earlier, the broad sword. So this is more powerful than the whip sword, but it doesn't have as long a range. However, it has the curved stab that I was saying about, and it's actually, in my opinion... it's much faster. Well, that's not my opinion, that's a fact. It is much, much faster than the hammer. So I personally think it's a better weapon because it's faster. You can see how much damage we're doing. It's almost just as powerful as the hammer. And they've got, you know, at this point in the game, power really does not make that much of a difference at all. So the fact is, it's only slightly less powerful, but it's slightly less powerful to the fact that it really doesn't make a difference. When did we get the giant ghost? Oh, actually, I remember we got the giant ghost soul the first time we encountered it. I remember nothing through there. No, that's where we got the uncursed potion, right? So yeah, I prefer it to the hammer. It's not as powerful, like I said, but at this point in the game, it really does not make a difference. It's still pretty powerful. It will still get the job done, as you saw with the bone towers. And really, it's the best thing at the moment, especially for the bone towers, to get something with an angled hip is the best thing to do. We don't need to go this way, but I do want to actually destroy the Durgas and the ghosts just to see if we're actually able to unlock the thing. Actually, no, we do need to go this way. I completely forgot about this. I knew there was a reason I was going this way apart from that. So if we go up here we go, the hammer. We've actually encountered it before, as you saw. We obviously got that from the rock armor, which I wasn't intending to do at all, but I'm really happy that we did manage to. But, you know, it's kind of sucky that it ruined the surprise of one of the most powerful weapons at this point in the game. And I still need to get the witch soul. I'm looking around for areas that could be hidden, could have secret exits or whatever, because we do actually need that thing where... we need to try and find as many secret rooms as we can, because at this point in time we haven't actually found that many rooms at all. We found one, and that was guarded by the all-seeing eye or whatever. I can't remember. The watchdog of the castle, basically. I'm surprised we haven't collected that many souls. We've only collected like 2, I think. So, you know, really, we're not doing that well. But you know what? We're at that point where it's just not... we don't have to worry that much about collecting souls. But there is the next boss that we need to fight is a boss that does actually require us to... well, it doesn't require us, but it actually gives us a benefit. Their soul actually benefits us because they... it lets us basically get power from each soul we collect. So we get more and more powerful. I think it's like +1 on your stats for every 10 souls you have, or something like that. I need to avoid taking damage in this area, because if I do, I'm going to die, and I'm going to game over, which I really don't want to do, because we've done really well about game overing. Nope, almost got hit by you. I think there is a soul which actually lets you destroy them, but I could be wrong. I thought there was a potion or something up on the roof bit, but I guess there's not. I don't like the way that, like, the things, like, come out of nowhere as you're leaving a room, because I just feel like it's kind of cheap. Like, you can get hit as you're leaving, which kind of sucks, actually. You can actually destroy these guys with just that. They're really not that difficult, and there is I don't know if it's a glitch or if it's intended or what, but there is a thing you can do. I need to be extremely careful, because I know for a fact this guy does 50 damage on the head hit that he does. Basically, we've been here. This is on top of the area that we've been, and these ghosts here, once we collect their soul, they will increase our luck. We don't have to worry about getting hit, because I really don't think they do that much damage at all, from what I can remember. But the whole reason we're going up here is because there's something really awesome that we can collect. There is actually something called a teleport, which I think is in this room over here. Yes, it is. Basically, this will allow us to teleport to anywhere in the game. So this is another teleport, which we haven't unlocked yet, but we can actually get to, because for some reason it's known to us. I'm pretty sure when a teleporter's known to you and you can select it on the map, that means, like, even if you haven't actually been in that room yet, you're still pretty golden. Like, you can just collect it, you should be fine. So yeah, if you may not have noticed something about the game, basically every time you collect a new power, a new special ability, it allows you to get to new parts of the castle, which I personally think is very, very awesome. It's the Metroidvania style. If you haven't heard that term before, it's essentially when you start to collect items throughout a game, and the items let you progress more throughout past areas. So basically Metroidvania is all about backtracking, which is a good thing in game when it's done well. I personally think this game does it well, because they don't like make it obvious. Like, I'm not saying Metroid does at all, because I don't think Metroid does. The amount of times I struggled with where I had to go and what I had to do in Metroid Other M was unbelievable. But I don't think they make it easy, but they do kind of they make it so it's obvious what you have to do, but actually finding like the area you have to do it in is a bit more difficult. So there are some places where you have to use the double jump, obviously, which you may have seen through our walkabouts, but they don't show where that area is. So I'm actually going to save here, guys, and I want to thank you all for watching. It really does mean a lot to me how much you guys are watching the series, and if you guys are enjoying it, please be sure to leave a massive thumbs up, and I will see you tomorrow, not tomorrow, but whenever the next episode goes up, when we tackle the rest of the game. So I'll see you all then. Goodbye.